Namaste. Today on One, your daily dose of local affairs and social media commentary. Today on One, Nampol refutes claims that it condones police brutality. Vanani casts doubt on SWAPO defectors. NSA conducts survey on COVID-19 impact on businesses. And I Am Voting Namibia empowers youth on voter education.
The Namibian Police Force has refuted allegations that its Inspector General, Sebastian de Tunga, has turned a blind eye on allegations of violence by officers on members of the public. They revealed that since last year, over 116 cases were registered against police officers that led to 56 members discharged from the force. A number of videos showing police officers assaulting members of the public have made the rounds on social media platforms since last year, which has led many to question whether the national law enforcement leadership is tolerant towards incidents of alleged police brutality. The Deputy Inspector General said police officers are human beings too, but when it comes to accountability, no one is immune or above the law.
The notion or view that the Inspector General of Police just watches and does nothing to these officers is nonsensical and therefore is hereby refuted in the strongest terms. All cases, and I repeat, all cases registered against police officers are investigated or being investigated. In fact, it is only through a proper investigation of these cases that the truth can be established and a decisive action can be taken against the members involved. Please help us educate and make the Namibian nation understand that police officers are at no point encouraged to brutalize the public. The Inspector General of Police does not condone any acts of violence, and he has been very vocal in condemning such acts. He did so because such acts would constitute a violation of the Constitution and the laws of the Republic of Namibia, and they would be contrary to the Police Code of Ethics. Be that as it may, cases of assault against police officers continue to be reported. Some of them are genuine, while some are mere allegations against police officers.
Mbubulu said while on duty, officers often encounter intoxicated, unruly and uncooperative individuals that insult and at times assault the officers. Such behaviors, he said, will be met with the appropriate force.
Just last week, on the 2nd of September 2020, at Mondesa in Swakopmund, some police officers were threatened by two brothers when they went to effect an arrest. One of the brothers interfered with the officers and seriously hit one of the officers in the head with an axe. It must be understood that law enforcers are there to enforce the law and therefore cannot give in to threats and insults of drunken members of the public. Lawlessness, undermining of authority, obstructing officers in the execution of their duties, unruliness and any other unbecoming behavior from members of the public will be met with the appropriate force as permitted by the law.
Today on One asked whether the Deputy Inspector General is at all concerned with the figure and how it reflects on the image of the force. He said the force employs over 16,000 members and the fraction of cases related to police brutality is low.
The president of the Popular Democratic Movement has cast doubt on the merits of politicians who have abandoned their membership in the ruling party out of anger to form new political parties, saying that such politicians can never be the alternative, as they too aided and abetted the ruling party in allegations of corruption. Speaking during a recent press conference in Windhoek, the leader of the official opposition party cautioned voters to remain vigilant of political actors that have come onto the scene as new messiahs. Vanaani said that there is great evidence that most breakaway parties that are formed out of anger always end up going back to the ruling party.
I want to urge voters to remain vigilant on political actors that are coming on the scene as new messiahs. Because parties must have ideological grounding. What do they stand and what do they represent? And sometimes people are using tribalism as a card to get a springboard ahead of the elections. And as we are unpacking the future of this country, we will have to warn Namibians to stay away from tribal projects, because there is great evidence that parties that starts out of anger ending up going back to the ruling party. And we are saying, we are the formidable alternative in this country. We are the party of the rule of law that believes in the individual. We are the party that supports the business, that supports the individual to be able to flourish in this country. We support the rule of law, and we are the party that can be able to make the necessary alternative. We don't believe any president who comes from SWAPO can ever be the alternative to this country, because they were betting and abetting the same corruption that we are talking about in this country.
The 2019 presidential and National Assembly elections were arguably the worst in terms of performance for the ruling party, as SWAPO lost a significant amount of its votes during these elections. Some analysts have attributed the low performance of the ruling party to the timing of the fish rod scandal, which was used as a campaign strategy by many opposition leaders to increase their performance against the ruling party. With the fish rod suspects still on trial after many months, today on One spoke to Graham Hopwood to find out whether this trend will continue in the upcoming 2020 regional council and local authority elections.
SWAPO has been very dominant as a party, so because we saw them losing some support in 2019, it seems fairly likely that that trend will continue. It all depends really whether you think SWAPO has repaired some of the damage from the 2019 election and the issues that affected that vote, and particularly in the corruption area. So voters are going to have to assess whether they feel that the ruling party and the government have moved to counter or deal with some of those issues. But I think the opposition will see this as an opening for them, because I think they will sense for the first time since independence, SWAPO has lost fairly significant support. More than 10% or around 10% of the vote in the National Assembly election. So there's every chance that the opposition and independent candidates could increase their performance or improve their performance. But the problem, I think, is that the voter needs to see which party or which candidates are the best. And at the moment, it might be a little bit of a confusing picture to them, because there's actually a whole range of possible parties and candidates. And because also campaigning is to some extent restricted by the COVID restrictions, we haven't really seen a strong front runner in the way that Dr. Itulo emerged as the front runner in the presidential election last year. We see a range of potential candidates and parties that are readying themselves to participate, but not necessarily a party or two parties that are very clearly making the running and are full of energy and are campaigning effectively. So we'll have to see if that changes in the next 2 months.
The leader of the official opposition party also urged the Electoral Commission of Namibia to consider extending the supplementary registration period for voters, which started on the 7th of September and is expected to end on the 15th of September due to the various challenges voters may face under the COVID-19 state of emergency.
It's me time. Time to love your skin with Bramley's range of scented tissue oils. Buy any 3 for just 50. Why pay more? Life's better with Pep.
The Namibian Statistics Agency recently concluded the COVID-19 impact on businesses survey in Namibia, with statistics showing that almost 87.7% of businesses are unfavorably affected compared to the 96.5% recorded in the first survey released earlier in May 2020. With the recent lockdown that Namibia is experiencing due to COVID-19, most businesses in the country have closed their doors and many have been forced to retrench their employees over the past 6 months. The Namibian Statistics Agency has embarked on a second survey across the country on selected businesses that are affected by COVID-19, which was conducted from the 27th of July 2020 to the 7th of August 2020.
Now, the objective of the survey was to deliver near real-time information that provides an impression of the effect of COVID-19 on businesses. The survey measured the prevalence and nature of adverse effects from coronavirus experienced by these businesses operating in Namibia. The survey shows that 87.8% of businesses are adversely affected by the coronavirus pandemic, compared to the 96.5% that was reported in the first round of the survey that was released in May 2020, or that was done up to May 2020. The survey indicated that almost half of the businesses, or 48%, continue to trade partially as compared to 50% that operated partially during the first round. So less businesses less businesses are operating partially compared to the previous round of the survey. A significant amount of businesses, which is 30.2%, reported to have laid off workers during the state of emergency. Thus, this is an indication now of rising unemployment during the prevailing pandemic period.
COVID-19 did not just affect local and small-scale businesses, but has had an overall effect on primary industries across all sectors, namely mining and quarrying at minus 11.1% and agriculture, forestry and fishing at minus 5.7%.
When you look at the types or the nature of the effect that the business have experienced, mainly demand was really one of the customer demands was one of the major effect that affected the businesses, both locally and internationally. With local 61.6% of the businesses have indicated that local demand was really a problem. This can be expected as well because, of course, the measures in place, most of the customers, of course, they are not willing perhaps to put on mask or using the sanitizer. So some of these conditions is also discouraging some customers to do businesses or to shop rather. Staff shortages was perceived by 18.6% of the businesses as being affected, and I'm naming this one because this is expected to improve in future. They are perceiving that the businesses will experience staff shortages. 39.0% of the businesses in future will be experiencing staff shortages. So the businesses, revenue really is an indication of the output of businesses, and ultimately it also links to employment. So businesses that are not operating normally, of course, we know very well that there is also an impact on that revenue. 85.5% of the responding businesses have indicated that they have lost revenue due to coronavirus. 21% of the businesses are from the hotels and restaurant sector.
Umburu further said although the government has introduced relief packages in order to mitigate the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on businesses, the survey results show that only 23.7% of businesses managed to obtain such relief packages during the period.
Voting Namibia, a first-of-its-kind non-profit youth organization recognized and accredited by the Electoral Commission of Namibia, aims to disseminate voter and civic education to young Namibians. At the launch, the organization's board chairperson noted that it is in partnership with the National Students Organization, which will assist to mobilize, drive, inform and engage with young people on electoral participation.
As candidates, as young people, we have a democratic right to choose which political party to affiliate ourselves to. But then, as I'm voting Namibia, we are non-partisan, and our aim is to educate the young people to make the right choice, to choose a political party or a candidate which understands their cries, who understands what it is that they need to develop their constituencies and the nation as a whole. However, we still have citizens. What we need to note is that we still have citizens with a lack of understanding about liberal democracy and a sense of belonging in the independent Namibia. Ultimately, as well as to create a platform through social media, because as young people we understand the importance of social media and how it can be an important role to play a critical role in our day and time, that will enable individuals to speak on their views about elections freely without any fear or favor. So one of the major platforms that we're going to be utilizing is our different social media platforms, be it Instagram, be it Facebook, be it Twitter, because we know that that is the platform where majority of young people are found, and we want to engage them at the level that they are free, they are comfortable, and it speaks to them, and they are able to participate without any fear or favor.
Simon further stressed the importance of the upcoming local and regional authority elections, noting that they are fundamental for regional and national development.
Importantly, these elections define the role of local authority councils, which essentially amount to public service delivery within the defined areas, which includes the provision, maintenance, and or establishment of services such as water, sanitation, electricity, public service, and so forth. The role of the regional council is to undertake the planning of the development of the regions and to widen the level of democracy of the regional level, increasing the participation of general population in their development. Hence why we are rolling out a national campaign as I'm Voting Namibia to invite and also encourage and educate young people to go out in numbers and exercise their rights come this November, because we feel they need to understand what does a regional councillor really mean. What does it entail for me as a young person to go and cast a vote for a councillor? What is it that they're going to bring back to benefit my constituency? Or is it even a benefit to me as an individual that live within this given constituency? So I'm Voting Namibia is then going to focus on giving young people voter education and making them understand the importance of them casting a vote come this November, but ultimately trigger at voting in general, be it national and regional elections, so forth.
The Voter Education Organization will be focused on voter registrations, voter engagement, and election participation, and will have regional coordinators in all 14 regions.
Enjoy these fantastic mid-month savings only at Clicks until 22 September. Buy Pampers Baby Dry Disposable Nappies and Pants Jumbo Pack, now $225.99 per pack. Buy Dawn Lotion and Cream, 400 mils, 2 for $34. And buy Nivea Roll-On for men or women, 50 mils, 3 for $48. Or buy Sunlight Hand Wash Washing Powder, 2 kgs, 2 for $86. Clicks. Feel good, pay less.
In other leading stories, the second quarter F&B residential property report highlights the fact that the house price index was down 2.7% from the second quarter of 2019 to the second quarter of this year, while the national weighted average house price is now recorded at just over $1 million Namibia. More highlights of the report advise that the northern regions is the only region with positive volume index growth recorded at 16.5% year-on-year, while the overall pace of land delivery improved by 23.1% year-on-year from 22.0% year-on-year recorded a year ago. F&B Market Research Manager Franz Usiko elaborates that house price gains were notable in the coastal and northern regions, registering growth of 6% and 8% respectively. Meanwhile, double-digit contractions in house prices of 10.8% and 13.8% year-on-year were recorded in the central and southern regions due to affordability issues. As a result, the elevated demand for land in the central region led to a 12-month average price growth of 14.2% per square meter at the end of June 2020, compared to a contraction of 13% year-on-year recorded over the same period last year. This, Usiku says, can be ascribed to high bid prices offered for the purchase of land, mainly by private developers. And Namibia performed relatively well during 2019 and 2020, despite an extremely challenging year for the diamond industry. In a media statement, the company noted that this positive financial performance is attributed to a well-executed strategy that focuses on revenue maximization for Namibian diamonds, optimization of the sales strategy, and robust internal processes and procedures. It further noted that during 2019, the global diamond industry was battling with a number of challenges. Amongst them were lack of bank financing, the depreciation of the Indian rupee, lower profit margins, and the competition of synthetic diamonds. The weak downstream sentiment related to macroeconomic and geopolitical factors, including the US-China trade tensions, the impact of the Hong Kong protests, and certain macroeconomic issues affecting consumer confidence in India weighed down on the industry. The governance of public enterprises in Namibia has reached a new momentum and emphasis with the promulgation of the Public Enterprises Governance Act 1 of 2019. Namibia, under the new governance model, has been declared a commercial public enterprise reporting to the Ministry of Public Enterprises. Namibia continues adhering to its policies, applicable laws and regulations. In the last quarter of the year, in mid-January 2020, the diamond industry was profoundly adversely impacted by the outbreak of COVID-19. The diamond centers worldwide closed and diamond trading declined sharply in February due to economic uncertainty surrounding the coronavirus.
Welcome to Comments Corner, your daily dose of local comments from the hottest social media pages. 2 years ago, the Namibian police force raided a church in Freedom Square, Karutura, after receiving a tip-off that the pastor was allegedly holding his members against their will. According to the pastor, the church's reputation was destroyed, and allegations against the church have not been proven, while Nampol took items that were never returned. Mbole asked if the pastor is here on a working basis. Petrus said, "Why are all goods confiscated above 5,000 Namibian dollars each in value?" Dollar said, "No country belongs to an individual." Jonathan said, "Namibians have betrayed themselves." Evanson said that the police should return the church goods and deport the pastor unless they sold the camera and laptop already. During a ministerial statement in the National Assembly on the COVID-19 situation in Namibia, Minister of Health and Social Services Kalumbi Shangula noted that the measures and interventions Namibia has implemented have to a large extent been effective in controlling and suppressing the spread of COVID-19 in Namibia. However, the pandemic has been able to spread to other parts of the country. Peter said, "Salute Dr. Shangula. Keep up the good work, as it can certainly not be easy." Was asked whether this is a campaign for a second state of emergency. Jonas said COVID-19 is everywhere, so we better learn to live with it. Dafa said that she wants to see cabinet ministers wearing their face masks after 15 September when the 6-month state of emergency period comes to an end. Deshiafela said a lockdown is still the way to go. And that is all from Comments Corner. Be sure to post your comments on our social media pages for broadcast every day only on Today and One.
Supplementary registration of voters for the Regional Council and Local Authority elections 2020 is here. The Electoral Commission of Namibia is calling on Namibian citizens who are 18 years or older and who are not registered as voters to register from the 7th to the 15th of September 2020. To register, you should provide proof of identity, age, and Namibian citizenship by providing one or a combination of the following documents: new or old Namibian identity document, or valid green Namibian passport, or Namibian citizenship certificate and sworn statements by 2 registered deponents, or a Namibian or a birth certificate of any other country and a sworn statement under oath affirming Namibian citizenship, as well as statements under oath by 2 registered deponents, or valid Namibian driver's license and a Namibian birth certificate, or a birth certificate of any other country and a sworn statement under oath affirming Namibian citizenship. All registered voters who have moved from one constituency to another, lost or damaged their voters' cards, or persons who have changed their surname are advised to register. Please go register to vote. Your vote counts.
A look at the weather forecast. First, an advisory from the Windhoek Met Office. Fresh to strong winds will persist over the interior into the weekend. The Namibia interior partly cloudy and hot in the extreme south. Elsewhere sunny and hot, but very hot in places in the north. The coast partly cloudy and mild to warm with fog patches at first, and the wind light northwesterly to fresh southerly. Now we'll look at minimum and maximum temperatures across the country and beyond.